one rein to each horse, and it goes straight through from here to the outside of each horse.
When we would go carriage driving, well, first of all, he'd take me on a different route every day, and I do not know how he managed to do that.
What if the quietest grandchild of Queen Elizabeth II, a young woman who once worked at a garden center, is quietly being positioned to benefit the most from the royal inheritance? While the world focused on Prince Harry's exile and Prince William's future wealth, something unexpected was unfolding behind palace walls. In her final years, the Queen was making private decisions about her personal belongings, choices that could shock the House of Windsor and unsettle one key figure, Queen Camilla. The unexpected focus? Lady Louise Windsor, a 22-year-old granddaughter many people rarely hear about. What Lady Louise has quietly received, and what it may reveal about the Queen's feelings toward Camilla's side of the family, is a story the palace has never openly discussed. And the details are surprising. Before understanding what Louise may have inherited, it's important to look at her close bond with her grandmother. Lady Louise Alice Elizabeth Mary Mountbatten Windsor was born on November 8, 2003, under difficult circumstances. Her mother, Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, suffered a sudden placental abruption and had to be rushed to hospital. Her father, Prince Edward, was overseas at the time and missed the birth. Louise arrived via emergency cesarean section, and both mother and child faced serious complications. As a premature baby, she was placed in intensive care, and her condition deeply worried the Queen. This fragile beginning created a strong emotional bond. The Queen developed a protective instinct toward Louise that shaped their relationship for years. Louise also faced early health challenges. She was born with esotropia, a condition affecting eye alignment, and underwent multiple surgeries during childhood. Being the youngest granddaughter and much younger than her cousins brought out a softer, more personal side of the Queen, one rarely seen by the public. Insiders later shared that the Queen especially enjoyed spending time with Louise at Balmoral, forming a close and natural connection. This quiet closeness stood out, even compared to older grandchildren like William and Harry. Louise's gentle personality also made her popular within the family. During holidays, she would help William and Catherine with their children, even teaching Princess Charlotte of Wales how to draw animals like rabbits and deer. Because of her artistic talent, the Queen allowed Louise to view rare personal sketches of Queen Victoria, items not often shared with others. Royal commentators noted that this bond was unique. Louise's early struggles and quiet nature made her especially dear to her grandparents. There were even simple, touching moments. The Queen would sit with Louise and her brother James, watching children's television together, private, peaceful times far removed from royal duties. It was in these quiet moments that a deeper connection formed, one that may have influenced important decisions later on. That connection became even more meaningful when Prince Philip passed away in 2021. Philip had a lifelong passion for carriage driving, a sport he took up after leaving polo. Over the years, he competed internationally and developed deep knowledge of the craft. Before his death, he passed this passion directly to Louise. He personally trained her, spending hours together in Windsor Great Park. She showed natural talent, even competing publicly and earning strong results. Philip left his carriages, ponies, and equipment to Louise, not just as possessions, but as a legacy. After his passing, Louise continued competing, even driving one of his carriages at the Royal Windsor Horse Show, with the Queen watching emotionally from the stands. By 2024, she was competing at national-level events, proving she wasn't just inheriting items. She was continuing his legacy. This inheritance from Philip set the stage for something bigger. To understand what may come next, it's important to separate royal myth from reality. Many people assume the monarch personally owns vast royal properties, but that's not the case. Assets like Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, and Kensington Palace belong to the Crown Estate, which is managed publicly and passed from one monarch to the next. However, Queen Elizabeth II also had a private fortune, estimated at around £500 million. And it's within this private wealth, not the Crown Estate, where real personal inheritance decisions are made. This included Balmoral Castle, valued at around £80 million, and the Sandringham estate, worth approximately £250 million. These properties were privately purchased by the family generations ago and belonged solely to Queen Elizabeth II. Beyond real estate, her personal wealth included over 300 pieces of fine jewelry, items that were entirely hers, not part of the crown collection. She also owned an impressive group of racehorses, a private car collection, and investment portfolios that, when adjusted for growth, could exceed £100 million. One crucial detail often overlooked is the 1993 agreement with the government. Under this rule, wealth transferred between monarchs is exempt from the usual 40% inheritance tax. This meant that when Elizabeth's personal fortune passed to King Charles III, it transferred in full, without taxation. However, before her death, the Queen still had the authority to personally decide who would receive specific items, properties, or portions of her estate. Reports suggest she made some unexpected choices. According to insiders, just months before her passing, she carefully reviewed her most valued possessions and decided who should inherit them. There were even whispers of last-minute changes to her will, decisions that reportedly shocked some members of the royal family. These changes became the starting point of tension. The first major issue centered around her personal jewelry collection. Reports claim that a large portion, valued at around $110 million, was left to Catherine, Princess of Wales. This was a powerful gesture and reflected the strong bond that had developed between the Queen and Catherine during her final years. But this decision did not sit well with everyone. In particular, Queen Camilla was said to be unhappy. An insider suggested that Catherine had clearly become a favorite, something that may have caused quiet resentment within Camilla's circle. To understand why this matters for Lady Louise Windsor, you have to look at the broader picture. The Queen wasn't dividing her wealth equally. She was making personal, deliberate choices. She favored those she felt closest to, while others were less included. Camilla's personal net worth, estimated at around $5 million, is relatively small compared to the overall royal wealth. While she has access to resources through Charles, the Queen's decisions showed where her true personal loyalty lay. Camilla's children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez, were also aware of this dynamic. Although they moved within royal circles, they were never fully integrated into the core family structure. They could see the wealth and influence being distributed, but remained somewhat on the outside. Tom, now a well-known food writer, has grown closer to palace events over time. Some reports suggest he could benefit from Charles's future decisions, but that would depend entirely on Charles and Camilla's influence. The key point is simple. Elizabeth's estate was hers to give, and she chose to give it to those she loved most. To fully understand why Lady Louise stands in such a unique position, we need to look at her parents, Prince Edward and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, and their relationship with the Queen. Prince Edward, the youngest of Elizabeth's children, lived a far quieter life compared to his siblings. While Charles faced public scrutiny over his relationships, Prince Andrew became involved in major controversies and maintained a strong independent role. Edward remained steady and largely out of the spotlight. Sophie, who married Edward in 1999, earned a reputation as one of the Queen's most trusted family members. After leaving her career in public relations, she became a full-time working royal and supported dozens of charities. Her loyalty, discretion, and dedication deeply impressed the Queen. She also focused on raising her children, Louise and James, with grounded values and a sense of responsibility. There's a story that highlights this perfectly. As a child, Louise once came home confused, saying people kept telling her that her grandmother was the Queen. When asked how she felt, she simply said she didn't understand. To her, Elizabeth wasn't a monarch, just grandma. This simplicity meant a lot to the Queen. In a world filled with royal drama and constant media attention, Edward and Sophie's home at Bagshot Park offered something rare: normality, loyalty, and genuine family warmth. Sophie even stated that her children would likely need to work for a living rather than rely on royal privilege. Louise proved this mindset by taking a summer job at a garden center before starting university. This grounded attitude stood in clear contrast to the entitlement and controversies seen in other parts of the royal family. When King Charles III granted Edward the title of Duke of Edinburgh in 2023, it was more than symbolic. It confirmed that Edward's family had earned the trust and respect of the monarchy. With that trust came opportunity, and with opportunity came inheritance. Lady Louise Windsor's quiet rise is something few people expected. What makes Louise stand out is that her journey has mostly happened away from the public spotlight. While her cousins, Prince William and Prince Harry, dominated global headlines, Louise focused on her education. She first attended St. George's School at Windsor Castle, then moved to St. Mary's School, Ascot, where she studied English, history, politics, and drama, subjects that reflect both curiosity and awareness of public life. In September 2022, just days after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, Louise began studying English at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. This choice caught attention, as it's the same university where William met Catherine, Princess of Wales, 2 decades earlier. But Louise's next step surprised even more people. In 2024, she joined the Tayforth University Officers Training Corps, part of the Army Reserve. Photos showed her training in full military gear, with face paint and a helmet marked Windsor, working alongside her peers. By 2025, she had progressed to the level of officer cadet. Her path closely mirrors that of her grandmother. At a young age, Queen Elizabeth II began her own journey of service during World War II, later joining the Auxiliary Territorial Service and becoming the first female royal to serve in active duty. Royal commentators have noted that Louise seems to carry traits from both her grandparents. She has the quiet nature of the Queen, while also excelling in the carriage-driving sport loved by Prince Philip. Her interests also hint at a serious future. Her professional profile suggests she is considering careers in the military, diplomacy, or law, fields that align closely with public service and responsibility. This has led to growing discussion about her future role. With only a small number of active working royals under the age of 70, some experts believe Louise could eventually take on official duties if she chooses. In simple terms, she is not only in line to inherit wealth, she may also step into a meaningful position within the monarchy itself, a role that others outside the direct royal line may never reach. This brings us to the tension building behind the scenes. Queen Camilla and her family are reportedly unhappy with how inheritance was handled after the Queen's passing. Despite Camilla becoming Queen Consort, she received very few personal items from Elizabeth. Much of the jewelry went to Catherine, and key possessions were passed down to the Queen's grandchildren. Camilla is also said to be concerned about future inheritance decisions, especially those involving Prince Harry. Reports suggest she may be trying to influence King Charles III's future will, possibly to reduce Harry's share and increase the chances for her own son, Tom Parker Bowles. At the same time, Lady Louise's position creates quiet frustration. She is a direct descendant of both Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, placing her firmly within the royal bloodline and in the line of succession. She has also received personal gifts and recognition from both grandparents. In contrast, Tom Parker Bowles, despite his public presence, does not share that royal lineage, which naturally limits his role and position. For Camilla, this situation goes beyond wealth or jewelry. It touches on status, legacy, and belonging. Interestingly, Louise's decision not to actively use the title of Her Royal Highness reflects her humility and may actually strengthen her long-term position. Within the British royal family, those who avoid seeking power often find themselves gaining more of it over time.